Recording in progress.
Good evening. This is the Chicago Computer Society West Side Computer Club meeting for October 2025. Tonight we have a guest host speaker of Ron Freeman, who we'll get to shortly. I'm opening the floor to any questions, problems, other issues, comments, news that perhaps you just heard about that the rest of us may not have. Anybody got anything? Please raise your hand. If you don't see down at the bottom, raise the hand down at the bottom of Zoom. Then look for the heart outline called React, and React allows you to raise your hand. That's the only hand that'll be recognized. So look at the bottom of Zoom. No, you got to raise the hand. It says, a button says raise my hand. Okay, Wayne, hold down your space bar to speak.
Yeah, I noticed on YouTube there's a program that allows you to load Windows 11 on a not, one of the the PCs that won't take Windows 11. I think it was called 11 Lite or something like that.
Okay. All right. Anybody got anything else? Other questions, comments, etc.? Drew?
Yeah, I solved my problem with the proxy. During the last meeting that we were at here, we had a problem. I was having a problem with Zoom asking for a proxy server. My Windows, I apparently had installed an extension into Google Chrome, and it was what modified my Windows settings to use a proxy server. I had turned it off, but what I had left it at was auto detect. And what I needed to do was uncheck the auto detect and say, don't detect anything, just leave me alone.
Yeah, I had a feeling there was something that you did in the past. You glossed over it and didn't realize what it was. And that can cause these kind of gremlins to surface. Okay, anybody else got anything? Boy, we're talking a bunch this evening. Okay, Bob.
I just want to say about the about any program that claims to allow Windows 11 to work on unsupported hardware. I be very careful about doing that because yeah, you might be able to force it to install, but eventually it may no longer update, and there may be other issues. There are usually reasons why Microsoft says your system can't be updated or upgraded.
Well, that's hardware requirements that are security related. Some feel that they may have gone a step too far, so to speak. And that's why a lot of them don't want to get rid of their old hardware. And some are experimenting with unsupported Windows 11. And that's an individual choice. Each individual has to make that decision. But it's also a case where I would say if there was 1 or 2% of the people who would likely try to use unsupported Windows 11 on their older equipment, I'd be amazed. The majority don't have the knowledge and would be very apprehensive to try out doing something like that, because unless they have a good solid resource of 1 or more people that really know what they're doing with the stuff, they're kind of SOL. So they put themselves out on a limb. That's why they won't do it. And that's what's going to happen with the majority. But that means there's going to be one big giant amount of 300,000 to 500,000 machines scrapped very soon. And that's not including the ones that have already been scrapped by business and individuals so far this year. That's just more on top of it. And some people will try and keep 10 going with the ESU. Some people will just try and keep 10 going and pray that nothing bad happens to them. But there are some pieces of information that a lot of you may or may not know about. One, there's a guy in California is suing Microsoft for basically not continuing support on 10. I wish him a lot of luck. If he holds his breath waiting for confirmation from a court case, he's going to be really sorry. But the other is Consumer Reports, and there may be some others that are trying to pressure Microsoft into continuing support on 10 for a period of time not specified. And in the EU, because of possible legal ramifications with the EU, Microsoft is giving them 1 year support for absolutely nothing. And that, as it gets to be gotten around to the US customer base and other nations that have Windows systems, that's going to be a real hot rock for Microsoft to justify saying okay to the EU. We'll continue at least 1 more year to support 10 for you, but nowhere else. Everywhere else, you got to either pay $30 per machine or use 1,000 points, reward points that you may have accumulated, and or use the backup feature to back up your settings and maybe some files. And as soon as you get confirmation, you can uncheck the files and just and even uncheck the system settings being backed up to OneCloud, and you'll still get 1 year's worth of mainly security updates. It does not affect Windows Defender antivirus updates. Those you'll get regardless until I think it's 2029 or 2030. I don't remember the exact date. So there's a lot of little things going on, and I wouldn't expect anything probably before the new year. If we do get something before the new year, it'll be somewhat of a surprise. Those who are on 10 who turn off their Windows update, which is doable, you're not going to get the Windows Defender updates. You're not going to get any security updates if you got the ESU in place. That leaves you out on a limb. Eventually, application software for AV programs and other programs are going to go bye-bye. And that you can't stop. When they say, for example, you got Norton antivirus, they may support that 10 for another year, maybe even 2 years. And then they'll say goodbye, and you have no update to your antivirus. And you'll find it harder and harder to find programs that you can get updates for, that you need updates for in the future. And that's a real thing. It was true with Windows 7. If you had a Windows 7 system that runs right now, and you go out and check what really does work on 7, you'll be amazed how little really does work outside what comes with Windows 7 operating system as of the last update. So you're playing with fire, and this includes 8 and 8.1. On the 14th, you have another factor. Right now, if you have a machine that's on 10 and you do not update to Windows 11 on that upgradable machine, the key you have right now for Windows 10 or a Windows 8.1 or an 8.0 or even a 7.1 machine, they will not recognize that license key anymore, and you will have to purchase a license key for that 11. So they go away. And that's a normal feature function. Right now, I'm taking some old Prime laptops that I've been too busy to mess with for about a year or so, trying to get them up to date. I'm finding a lot of them have now a dead battery. Right now, I'm missing one machine that I haven't been able to find yet, and 2 power supplies for 2 units. And I'll be upgrading those to 10, get them backed up. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them yet. A few of them I know I'm going to change to Linux, because they have low specifications on memory and stuff like that. It's kind of a case I got to decide what I'm going to do with each one of them. Part of the reason why I'm keeping them, these were premium Asus ZenBooks with 1 HP Spectra. And these are real high-end machines. They have very high resolution, 2K resolution screens. So they display everything in 1440p. Most everybody at this meeting is probably using 1080p. And a few people might have somewhere between 720p and 1080p. It's 1378 by 11 something. I can't remember the exact numbers anymore. I used to know them pretty good because I had so many systems with those specifications. But right now, these are real high-end laptops that I want to figure out what I'm going to do with them. And I am a person who does use unsupported 11. I don't have a lot of them, but I have a couple. I might take a couple of them and take the gamble and move them to 11. If 11 they don't update anymore, I can always switch them to Linux, because I'm a multi operating system person. I used to have a couple Mac Book Pros. They're obsolete. One of these days I'll get tired of staring at the darn things, and I'll put Linux on them. And there's a guy that's in Tech for Seniors group up in Canada. He had retired about a year ago a iMac machine, 27-inch screen. Loved it, but it was no longer being updated. So he put it in a box in a closet and went out and bought a new machine. Well, just recently, he decided to try installing Linux on it and see what happens. And he is tickled pink, and he wished he had done that a year ago, and he wouldn't have bought that iMac. He would have bought a Mac mini PC instead. So, what are you going to do? This is life. So, at the moment, since there doesn't seem to be any more questions, comments, problems, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Ron Friedman for his last presentation. Take it away.
All right. So welcome. This is session 5 of 5. This is the final session of migrating from Windows 10 to Windows 11, or updating from Windows 10 to Windows 11, or ignoring Windows 10 to Windows 11, all the different options which are out there. This one is about migrating. This is about taking your stuff from your old computer, which you've decided isn't going to handle Windows 11 for whatever reason you've decided it won't. That's what we discussed in past meetings. But you got to migrate your stuff to a new, at least new to you, Windows 11 PC. In other words, it already has Windows 11 on it, and your computer has Windows 10, and you don't want to have to reinstall everything from scratch and move all your files. You want a relatively easy way to do it. And so we've been leading up to this for the last 4 sessions. Today I'm going to show you one way of doing it. It's a way that I recommend because it works nearly flawlessly. I've had a couple things where, someone's program didn't come over or something like that. But this is it's pretty reliable. So we'll talk about that. In preparation for your migration, you really don't need to migrate your entire hard drive because your hard drive has Windows 10 on it. It's not going to help you at all. You can't update it. You can't do anything. So what you really want to do is get your files over. You want to get your user configuration over, what's called a profile in Microsoft speak. And you want to get your programs, your applications over so you don't have to reinstall them. Because who knows if you know where the license keys are for those programs, or you know where the disks are. Disks, my gosh, who ever thought of having a disk for a computer? But your computer may be that age and your software was already installed with disks, even if it was a CD disk or a DVD disk, if you had a really fancy computer. But so what we're going to do, you'll still have your old PC when we're done. So if something is missing or you need to do something in the meantime, the way that we're doing this will retain your old PC. It's not going to be changed. It's not going to be impacted in any way, but you'll have everything over on your new PC, new to you. So the first thing, and I've mentioned this almost every session we've done, know your administrator username and password. Someone who has one of your usernames has to have administrator privileges, and you know the password to it so you can log in if you ever need to do anything that requires administrative changes, like installing software or something like that. We shouldn't need it, but I'm recommending that you know it up front. It's a little bit too late after the fact, and you're trying to figure out why things don't work, and then you don't know what your administrator. Now, you're going to have an administrator username and password also on your new computer. So you now are going to have 2 different ones. You're going to want to know both of them. You may want to back up your old system. So if we recall, we talked about this. It's a USB drive. This happens to be a Western Digital drive. Plugs into your USB port. This happens to be, I believe it's either a terabyte or 500 gigabytes. I can't remember. We're not going to need anywhere near that much, but you may want to copy some files over from your old computer. One of the easiest things you can do is if you're logged in as the administrator on your old computer, you can go to the users folder and on your primary drive, your C drive, and you can just drag your the profiles, the username folders within users, and drag them over to your USB drive as a way of copying them. Your especially if you're not logged in as your own account, you're logged in as a generic administrator, you can copy everyone else's profiles over because you have the rights to everything. The next thing you want to do is you want to make sure that all of your programs on your old computer have been updated to the latest versions. You want to make sure your operating system's been updated to the latest possible version of Windows 10, obviously. And if you have any drivers for things like printers or specialty equipment, which you have, you want to make sure that all your drivers are updated. So that way, if there's anything special in those new drivers or the new applications that they also designed for Windows 11, you'll have that compatibility already built in. You're going to want to turn your antivirus off. This is a temporary thing while we're doing the transfer, while we're doing the migration. So, and you don't need to be on the internet when you're actually doing the transfer or the migration. So, yeah, you can have your antivirus. Just remember to put it back on when you're done. You want that also. You want it off also on your new computer. And if your new computer is just a basic install of Windows 11, you can turn off Windows Defender, and you'll be fine. You'll get a bunch of notices that you're not protected, but again, you're not supposed to be really doing a whole lot of work on it while you're doing the transfer. You also, on both computers, want to make sure that your OneDrive sync is turned off. You don't want to be syncing while you're transferring. Just turn it off. That'll make sure that you are ready to go. And if you're on a laptop or laptops, make sure you turn off power saving. You don't want to be your computer automatically going into lock mode and shutting down your computer halfway through the transfer process. Just keep it all powered up and full power, ready to go. So we talked about the USB drive. You know, this is the USB drive that we can use. The program that I'm going to recommend, there are other alternatives to this product. This product is called PC Mover Professional. PC Mover Professional has been around for years. I want to say close to 20 years. The company that makes it is laplink.com. Laplink made connections between computers over USB. In fact, in the original days, they had connections between computers over parallel printer port cables. So just crazy stuff. They've been around a long time. Microsoft, this is Microsoft's recommended vendor. In fact, Microsoft's own more limited version of what PC Mover can do is called User State Migration Tool, USMT. And this is from Microsoft directly. It's free, doesn't cost you a dime. It's a little bit more complex to use. It was designed originally by the folks at Laplink. And you know, it's there, it's available to you. But I like the Laplink PC Mover Professional. Now, the Laplink has multiple products called PC Mover. The one you're going to want is Pro, because what Pro does, Pro allows you to connect, to transfer or migrate your files from one computer to another without connecting them. It's all using this USB drive that we were talking about. The other versions of there's an enterprise version, which is for domain connected computers. There's a PC Mover Express, which requires the two computers be connected together via some sort of a network. I don't recommend a network connection because that means both computers are tied up simultaneously. You know, if something doesn't work halfway through on the network, it's really hard to undo what you did. So I don't recommend it. The list price on PC Mover Professional is $60. There are discount coupons out there for 30 to 50% off. You know, and Amazon already has it at a discount. Maybe after October 14th, the price may go way down because who's going to need it anymore? It works on Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10. If you have Windows 9, let me know. But this is for Windows 10. You can use it for Windows 10 Home Edition. You can use it for Windows 10 Professional Edition. You can use it for Windows 10 Enterprise Edition or Education Edition. There is a Windows 10 S Edition. I cannot speak to whether it'll work on Windows 10 S, but it works in all the different versions of Windows 10 which are out there, which is what we're talking about, other than S, and all the different upgrades, you know, the 22H2 and all that kind of stuff works very well. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to buy the license key for PC Mover Pro in advance. Just get it, have it available. You don't need a license on your old computer. You only need it when you take the stuff from your old computer and actually put it on your new computer. So, you know, you can also download PC Mover Pro directly from the LapLink website in their support section. But you can't use it. You can't use it on your new computer, and we'll see that in a moment when we actually run through an actual transfer, an actual migration. It would you can install it on your new computer, but you won't be able to do the transfer until you type in your license key. And the license key is immediate. When you buy it, you get the license key via email almost instantaneously. They've been very reliable for all the years that I've used them. If you can get your application license keys for all the applications that you have, great, just in case. But you know, we know that a lot of our software out there, we have no idea where our license keys are unless you are really good at keeping records on that kind of stuff. Reboot your computer before we start this. That way there's no other programs running. You don't want to have a bunch of programs running in the background. If you have auto start for any of your applications, like it auto starts Teams or something like that, you may want to turn them off in auto start, or at least turn them off once your computer reboots and be ready to go. Make sure you know which users are on your old computer. You know, probably yourself. It may even be your name. It might be another name, but there may be other people who share the computer and have their own logins. Just make sure you know who all the people are. That'll give you an advantage when you're looking at some of the information later. And the best part about this process is if you install this on the new PC, if you migrate everything over and it doesn't work quite the way you wanted because you didn't click something correctly and when you made the original transfer file, if you say, hey, undo everything, it'll undo everything you do within the first 10 days. So you don't have to look at it immediately on the new computer. You can say, this didn't work. And you can go back. You can redo this multiple times from your old computer, and you can do it on the new computer where you have the license multiple times. So you can keep retrying it till you get it right. That's it. We're gonna actually try this. I'm gonna change my camera here to the other camera that's coming off the computer. There we go. So you should be see, this is the screen. This is a video, by the way. We're not going to run through the hours that this takes. This is the screen. This is the old computer. You can tell it's running Windows 11 because it has the Windows 11. I'm sorry. This is Windows 10. You can tell because it has the Windows 10 taskbar at the bottom. And let me get this started here. There we go. Now it's starting. So what we're going to do is you can see, I'm going to first show you what the configuration is of this old computer. We're going to look at the settings and system and about, and we're going to see that this is a computer which is 4 gigabyte of RAM. It's a 3rd generation Intel processor. It's got storage of 120 gigabytes. It's running Windows Pro 22H2, but it's not going to run Windows 11. There's just no way. So what we're going to do is we'll download the software. Oh, this is a mistake. I took something I shouldn't have. We're going to run here real quick. We're going to download the installer. Now I've already installed the software here. Excuse me. I've already downloaded the software from LapLink. That's why it's saying, uninstall or close. So it's a standard installation routine. It comes down as an executable. You double click on it and it installs. All right, so here we are. Now we're going to start the actual installed version of the software. Here it comes. And it's going to come up very simple. It's going to start the first time install. It's going to ask you some information from your executable, installing PC Mover. And what we're going to do here is it's going to ask us, is this the old PC or the new PC? I'm going to pause here for a real quick moment. This is the old PC. So it's not asking us for any licenses or anything at this point. We're going to do, let me come back here. So one of the things that you can see here is that it's going to choose a transfer type. So, we can connect the two computers together if you want. There are multiple ways of doing this, but again, the reason we got Pro is because we want to do a file-based transfer. All right, there we go. There we go. All right, so we're going to click on file-based transfer, which means it's going to create a file on our USB drive. We're going to tell it this is the old computer, and we're going to tell it the name of the file that we want to put on the new drive. I'm going to speed this up just a little bit. So we're now going twice normal speed. And I had a file already on my USB drive. I'm going to do a new file because I want this one to be different. I'm going to add some things which I didn't have on the old one, so I can do that. And now it's going to scan the system. It's going to scan the system for about 10 minutes. And it's going to determine what my old computer has on it. So PC Mover, I'm going to speed this up too. Oh, here we go. Oh, let's go back there. I want to show you that real quick here. All right. Oh. No, I didn't want to go to the new one. Hang on a moment here. We're going to go back. And let's come back to here. Scroll through here a little bit. All right, it's going to come up here and it's going to pop up something which is interesting, and you may encounter this. It's going to say that, hey, on my old computer, there we go, on my old computer, it had Microsoft Office Professional Plus 2016 as a trial. And it can't transfer trials. It's basically letting you know that it's not going to transfer the trial version of the software. So if you had more than one version of Office and one was a trial, it knows that, and it's going to fix it up. There we go. So now it's going to scan my computer. PC Mover knows the applications which are out there in the real world. It knows registry settings. It knows a lot of stuff about Windows and applications and people. So it's checking your system to know what it's going to need to transfer into this file. And as you watch the clock, or you watch the progress bar, we're coming up to the 7-minute mark already. 9-minute mark. I'm sorry. And boy, I just scrolled right past that. So let's stop there. There we go. All right. So we're going to do, come back a little bit more. There we go. All right. There we go. So one of the options here is do a standard transfer. It knows everything it needs to know. I don't need to be special. So, and it's going to tell us, here's where it's going to move. The things that it can move, that it knows about, the documents that you can find, the pictures it can find. Here's some files that were installed that are not part of Windows. And it's going to tell us what it can do, what is verifiable, what's unverified. It's going to show things which are, it doesn't really know much about, and allow us to transfer them too. Now, so this is this was an Asus computer, and it's being transferred to a Dell computer. So I don't need any of the Asus drivers. I don't need any of the Lenovo drivers. I don't need any of the stuff which is from the old computer. Basically bloatware. But there are some things that I do want to copy over. I can check them off, make sure that I can bring them. So you can see like malware bytes, I'm bringing that over. I probably don't need the Realtek USB 2.0 reader because my new computer doesn't have a Realtek USB 2.0 reader. So there's just some things here that we can do. When I'm done, I can click on done. And here it comes. Okay. I'm just looking at all the things, conflicting things, seeing if anything, I don't care if it conflicts or not. It had already picked 4 out of 45 things that it knew it could still transfer even though there might be a conflict. All right, and let's come here. We'll speed it up a little bit again. There we go. Click on done. There we go. And next. All right, and let me pause it here. So here, it's telling us what we're going to do. The one thing that you might want to do, customizing it, is in email, you may want to transfer the default settings for your email so that whatever your defaults are, it transfers them as part of your application that you normally have. Because it's going to transfer the email application and email stuff that you have if it can. All right, let's continue on here. Oh yeah, file associations is another one. You might have customized your file associations so that doc files open up in free Office and rather than in Microsoft Office. Here's telling us what folders it's going to do. There might be some folders that you don't really care about transferring over. And then, the music folders, I'm just going through some of the folders there. Pictures, what pictures you want to bring over. And now it's working. It's going to calculate how, what to put in the transfer file. Here it's showing us its progress. We're at 100% analysis. It's ready to create. It's now going to start creating and we can watch this. So, we're only 15 minutes into this, and we're already at the point of creating a transfer file. Now this, I can go out for my cup of coffee, because this is going to take between, now remember, I only have a 120 gig drive, so that's what it's taking here. I'm going 32 times speed. It's showing me, it's saving this transfer file. We're up to, we're almost at 30 minutes into the process. When it gets to about 80%, it's actually done. So it does jump pretty quickly here. We're now at 35 minutes, and I'm going to pause it here. And it's done. That was it. That's all I had to do. It says we're done. In fact, we want to see what the pretty little message was here. Oh, okay, let's do that. There we go. No. Oh, I'm back on the wrong video again. All right, let me go back. Get the right mouse here. Media, playback. Let's go. Which video am I on here? Playlist. There we go. All right, so let's go back. Close my playlist. There we go. So we're come back to the end of this. Just so you can see, there we go. All right. So basically it just stops and you're done, and you're ready to go. So the next video we're going to watch is the installation. So this is on a new computer now. You unplug your USB drive from your old computer. Your old computer is ready to continue to be used. I wouldn't use too much on it because you don't want to make a whole lot of changes, because they're no longer going to be remembered on the new computer because they're not in the transfer file. But you might want to update your Facebook page. You can browse the web all you want. That's not a real big issue. So now we will go and there we go. All right, here we are. I'm logging in as administrator, as you saw. One of the things that I did is I put PC Mover, the one that I downloaded on my old computer. I copied it. There we go. I copied it to my USB drive so that I could put it on the new computer without having to download it again. So here I am. I'm looking at my USB drive right now. The USB drive shows there's my PC Mover file. I'm going to launch it, and we're going to do almost the same thing we did on the old computer, except now this is the new computer. Let me speed this up just a bit here. There we go. PC Mover starts. And it's going to start. It's going to initialize its installation, and it does what it's going to do. Okay, now it launches. The installation completed successfully. I tell it it's the new computer. We're going to use the transfer file. It's going to ask me where is the transfer file, or what's his name, because I could have multiple ones. There we go. There it is, old PC2. Scans the system, so it's scanning my new computer so it can compare the new computer with what's in the transfer file. And here it's looking, and it's now ready for me to enter in that serial number, which I bought and got when I did the system. It's the new computer. This is where I install and have to pay for LapLink to do its job, which is migrate all those files into the new computer. And if you follow this, and you can very good. Slow it down just a little bit. So, oh yeah, on my old computer, on my new computer, some applications were starting in the background. Let's see here. Still coming. I have to wait for this other program to get out of the way. There we go. Now you can ignore the serial number because it's not the license that you would normally use. So here we go. And it's now scanning. Right, stop it here for a moment. Here are my options. I can say, who are the users from the old computer and what will they be on the new computer? So I had an old user called rf-admin as my old administrator name, and I can put that here. I can put it in the administrator account, or at this point I could tell the transfer make its own profile. Administrator will be administrator, rf-admin will be a whole new profile, and there's my other profile, R Friedman BRFA, who is also an administrator. Okay, so there it goes. What I'm transferring, verifying everything, looking at what's going to transfer over, and it's now uploading the transfer file. It's bringing that transfer file from the USB drive to the new computer. And let's speed that up. So we're about 15 minutes into the whole process. It's already transferring the files. The miracle of video recordings. We're almost at 30 minutes. We're at 25 minutes now. It's still going ahead. Oh, look at that. An update's due. All right. There we go. PC Mover is now installing the components that are required by some of the applications. So it's just kind of giving me a little update here about what's going on. So it's keeping me informed. I haven't had to do anything once I said transfer. Now that's done. Okay. And very good. Okay. So it creates a report, which is great. You can see what it did. It reboots itself. And now I'm in reboot mode. I'm done. It's all finished. Here's the computer. I'm going to close this window up here. Here is the computer after it rebooted. You can see it's in Windows 11 mode. Look at the taskbar at the bottom. That is Windows 11 in that inglorious place in the middle of the taskbar. You can see that from what I originally had, I didn't have Polaris Leap. I didn't have some of these icons on my left-hand side. It brought those over from my desktop and put them on my new desktop. And I had files already on the new computer, and they remained there. So I had played with my new computer for a few moments beforehand, and it just reincorporated it on the new computer. And that is basically how it works. Let me go back to my base here on screen, and I'm ready for any questions. Of course, everyone probably already has Windows 11 and didn't need any of this. But this will be one of our video. So if you have friends or whatever who are still on the fence, they can look at the entire series and get some idea, to pre-educate themselves before talking with you about your experience.
Anybody who has any questions that, please raise your hand to be acknowledged, and then hold down the space bar to speak. Okay, Tom, go ahead and press the space bar and go ahead.
Okay, the question I have is, once you get all the things to the new computer, if it finds in all the scanning that it has the same file with slightly different names, but it's the same data, like maybe the same pictures, but they've been edited, or they've got the same name, will it take both pictures over?
Right. What it will do is it will go and ask you during the transfer process, do you want to keep both, have the old one, have the one, or have the one that's on the new computer. So it will ask you that, just like a normal file copy would do that if you had two files of the same name and you're copying them from one folder to another. So that can be aggravating, but it also has the option of, if you say keep both, or you have the option to keep the old one or keep the new one, new computer one, and do it for all the remaining ones that happen like that. So you can set it up. So it's just like the copy function in Microsoft Windows 10 and in Windows 11 for that matter.
Anybody else? Doesn't look like it.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Ron, for all your presentations and that to the group, and I hope things work out down the road. All right, now I'm gonna, the one machine I normally would have done the presentation on that I've got, it's still restarting, so it's still doing whatever it's doing. So I set up a shall we say emergency backup plan, and that's what I'm going to have to do, is use that. You ain't gonna let me do that. There we go. Okay, this unless something comes up in the future, is likely going to be the one of the last Windows 10 videos that I play. So what we're going to do here,
Hi everyone, Leo Notenboom here for AskLeo.com. Here's a comment I've been hearing lately. You keep saying we can keep using Windows 10 safely after support ends. How is that even possible? I know, it's a controversial position that not everyone agrees with, some quite angrily in fact. I believe it is quite possible to keep using Windows 10 safely after Microsoft ends its official support of the operating system. There are two things you need to do, and both of them are things you should be doing already. First, practice safe computing. This is the single most important thing you need to do to keep using Windows 10 safely. In fact, like I said, it's something you should already be doing and should represent no additional work on your part. Windows 10 end of support is simply a reminder not to drop your guard. What does that mean? Well, from my most important article ever, it includes things like using good security software, which I'll talk about in a minute, keeping your other software up to date, securing your online accounts, educating yourself, securing your home and mobile connections, remembering your physical security, and of course, backing up. I'm going to go one step further and say that your actions are much more important than anything Microsoft might fix in the operating system, regardless of which version of Windows you're running. Why? Because more people are compromised by skimping on those things than they are by some random unpatched vulnerability. In fact, most unpatched vulnerabilities require that the malware make it past you to be exploited. In other words, if there's something that Microsoft doesn't patch, your good habits are what will protect you in almost every case. Second, use good security software. And I continue to recommend Windows Security, aka Windows Defender or whatever they're calling it this week, as a solid security solution built right into Windows. It's already there and you might already be using it. Microsoft has stated that they will continue to provide security definition updates for Windows security until at least 2028. Thus, even on Windows 10, where Windows itself will not be updated after the end of support date, the security software will remain current. If that still concerns you, fine. There are several other good security suites that you can switch to. Windows Security will just step out of the way when you install them, and they will continue to provide protection long after the Windows 10 end of support date. The result is what I'll refer to as two-step protection. Your good habits will prevent malware from reaching your machine. Up-to-date security software will detect and thwart most everything else that might make it through. Now, I do need to talk about the Extended Security Updates, or ESU. If you continue to use Windows 10 past its end of support date, you might consider signing up for the ESU. That program is nothing more than an extension of the end of support deadline for 1 year. After that, it's up to you to simply continue relying on yourself and your security software once again. But aren't operating system updates critical? Keeping all your software as up-to-date as possible has always been important. That has changed. However, important doesn't mean can't live without. Security, all security, is about playing the odds and stacking the deck in your favor. There is no such thing as perfection, even with security updates for Windows. Looking at it a different way, all of these following things have to be true in order for something bad to happen to you. First, there has to be a bug in Windows. Second, that bug must represent a security vulnerability of some sort. Third, hackers need to know about the bug. Fourth, hackers need to devise a way to exploit the bug for malicious purposes. 5, there must be a way for hackers to get that exploit to you, typically as malware. 6, you have to allow the malware on your machine, typically through a download of some sort, including email attachments. 7, your security software must miss the fact that malware has been downloaded to your machine. 8, you have to run the malware, meaning you run a download or open that attachment. And 9, your security software has to miss the fact that malware is running on your machine. Thwarting any of those items means that the malicious vulnerability will not affect you. Ongoing security updates deal only with number 1, and even then only if number 2 is deemed important enough. Malware still has many hoops to jump through in order to impact you. Your job: keep your guard up for the steps you control. That means not allowing malware onto your machine to begin with and using good security software. Now, there are primarily two objections to what I suggest. There's a theory that hackers have already discovered one or more vulnerabilities, but they're holding on to that knowledge until after the end of support date. After that date, they'll release the malware, exploiting the vulnerabilities, and wreak havoc. The other, of course, is that the thinking that Windows vulnerabilities seem to be found so frequently that it's inevitable that something will be discovered after the end of support date with the same result. Now, I personally don't think hackers are disciplined enough for the first to have any merit. Windows 7's end of support faced exactly the same fear, and absolutely nothing came of it. In a way, it's really just a subset of the second point. And as for the second, I don't buy it. Sure, there's a constant stream of bug fixes to Windows. We see it every Patch Tuesday. But by and large, those A, aren't security issues, and B, those that are rarely affect a broad swath of Windows users. On top of that, most bugs are introduced as software is changed. Windows 10 isn't changing anymore. The rate at which Windows 10 vulnerabilities are being introduced should be at a near standstill. The only potential concern would be vulnerabilities that have gone undetected for a long time, which by definition should be almost none. Now, we've been here before. We have experience with exactly this scenario in two very interesting and very different ways. First, when Windows 7's support ended, there were dire predictions of both of the objections above: a previously known vulnerability to be unleashed after end of support, and dire consequences regardless. Neither failed to materialize. And just as there are people who want to stick with Windows 10 today, some folks kept on using Windows 7 safely after its end of support. How? By following the two-step protection I outlined above. Some are still using Windows 7 today. Second, there are people who have already been running Windows 10 without updates. For various reasons, often the perception that Windows updates themselves were more disruptive than they're worth, individuals disabled them. That means no updates at all, security or otherwise, and they are apparently happy with that result. I also hear from others who are actually looking forward to the cessation of Windows 10 updates for that very reason. I'm not one to jump into conspiracy theories, and while I don't think this is intentional, there's something that is worth pointing out. It is in Microsoft's best interest to let all of the FUD about Windows 10 end of support go unchallenged. The more people feel they must update to Windows 11, even if that means getting a new machine, the better Microsoft and PC manufacturers make out. That you might be able to keep on using Windows 10 safely, it's just not a message you're going to hear from Microsoft. Package that already requires Windows 11 for future versions. There's little you can do about that other than either moving to Windows 11 or finding an alternative that still supports Windows 10, or keep using the last version that still supports Windows 10. So, bottom line here after all is said and done, yeah, sure, upgrade to Windows 11 if it makes sense for you. That means both you and your hardware are compatible with Windows 11. If that's not you, however, you can keep using Windows 10 safely by following the two-step process I outlined above. And even then, those two steps should already be what you're doing anyway. For updates, for comments, for links related to this topic and more, visit askleo.com/184526. I'm Leo Notenboom, and this is askleo.com. Thanks for watching.
Okay, the next video I've got is made by another group headed by Huey Poplock. And this is good information for a lot of people don't know a lot of the features and capabilities of Zoom. This does not cover all the bases, I can guarantee you that. but it's a good beginning for possibly other seniors who may not be using Zoom right now or using it in a very limited way.
Zoom Meeting Guide for Seniors. I'm Huey Poplock. Welcome everyone to today's comprehensive guide on mastering Zoom's menu bar and AI features. This presentation is specifically designed for senior users who want to become more confident and comfortable using Zoom in their meetings, family calls, and social connections. We'll explore every aspect of Zoom's interface in a clear, step-by-step manner, ensuring you leave with the knowledge and confidence to navigate Zoom like a pro. We'll also introduce you to Zoom's exciting AI companion features that can make your meeting experience even more enjoyable and productive. Here's what we'll cover. First, we'll start with understanding Zoom's interface, where you'll learn how the main window is organized and where to find everything you need. Next, we'll get into the menu bar overview, exploring each button and control in detail. Then we'll cover essential controls, including audio, video, chat, and screen sharing features that you'll use most frequently. After that, we'll introduce you to Zoom's AI companion features, which are revolutionary tools that can summarize meetings, help with chat responses, and make your Zoom experience much more smoother. When you join a Zoom meeting, you'll see an intuitive interface. The main window shows participants' video feeds, while the control toolbar at the bottom lets you manage your microphone, camera, chat, screen sharing, and more. The toolbar may hide after a few seconds, but reappears when you move your mouse, depending upon your settings. The participants list and chat panel may appear on the right or in separate windows. Everything is designed to be just a click away, and we'll explore each feature in detail during this presentation. On the bottom toolbar is your command center in Zoom. On the left are the mute, unmute, and start and stop video buttons, the most used for controlling your mic and camera. The security button, a shield icon, which may also be at the top right of your screen, gives hosts a safety controls. A participants button shows who's in the meeting, and while chat opens a panel for messaging individuals or everyone. Share screen lets you present your screen. Record saves the meeting, and reactions allow quick responses like thumbs up, applause, or raising your hand. Managing audio and video is key to a smooth Zoom experience. The microphone button at the bottom left controls your audio. No line means you're unmuted. A red line means you're muted. Stay muted when not speaking to avoid background noise. And use the arrow for settings like testing your mic or switching devices. The camera button works the same way. No line means your video is on. A red line means it's off. The arrow opens options to test your camera, switch between cameras, and adjust settings like brightness and contrast. The participants panel shows everyone in the meeting, their names, and whether they're muted or on video. You can see who's speaking, who's raised a hand when people join or leave. Chat lets you communicate without interrupting the speaker, send messages to everyone, or privately to individuals. Just click chat, type in the box, and press enter. You can also share files with the attachment icon. Keep in mind that the public chat is visible to all, while private messages are only seen by you and the recipient. Screen sharing lets you show photos, documents, or software from your computer. Click Share Screen and choose your whole screen, a specific app, or just part of it. When someone else shares, their content appears in the main window while participant videos may move aside. Recording is also useful for reviewing later or sharing with absentees. Hosts can start recording with the record button, which captures audio, video, screen sharing, and chat. Recordings are saved either on your computer or in the cloud, depending upon your settings. Zoom gives you several ways to view participants. Speaker's View highlights the active speaker, ideal for presentations. Gallery View shows everyone in a grid, great for social or group meetings. Multi-Speaker View highlights up to 4 people talking at once, while Immersive View places participants in a shared virtual background, like sitting around a table. You can switch views from the View menu in the top toolbar or the options in the top right corner of your meeting window. Zoom's reaction lets you engage without interrupting. The reactions button on the bottom toolbar gives you quick emoji options like thumbs up, clapping, or hearts, which appear briefly over your video. The raise hand feature signals to the host that you would like to speak, especially helpful in large meetings. You can also rename yourself, add virtual backgrounds, or use appearance filters to enhance video quality. Zoom's AI companion acts like a smart assistant to making meetings smoother. It can generate summaries so you don't need detailed notes, suggest clearer chat responses, and provide real-time transcriptions for easier follow along or review. It also learns from your meeting pattern, helpful to prepare by suggesting agenda items and materials based on past discussions. Zoom's AI companion acts like a smart assistant to make meetings smoother. It can generate summaries so you don't need detailed notes, suggest clearer chat responses, and provide real-time transaction for easy follow-along or review. It also learns from your meeting patterns, helping you prepare by suggesting agenda items or meetings based on past discussions. Zoom is rolling out new AI that further streamlines meetings. Enhanced transcription aims for more accurate speech to text across accents and languages with clearer and cleaner formatting. Smart meeting insights will suggest better meeting times, surface recurring topics, and offer tips to improve effectiveness. Automated assistants will handle scheduling across participants, send follow-up reminders for action items, and suggest the right people for specific discussions. To stay current, keep Zoom updated, and watch in-app notifications, and subscribe to Zoom's newsletter. Security and privacy are paramount when using Zoom, and the platform provides several features to keep your meeting safe and private. While waiting rooms act as a virtual lobby where participants wait before being admitted to the meeting, giving the host control over who joins and when. This prevents uninvited guests from disrupting your meetings. Meeting passwords provide an additional layer of security, requiring participants to enter a password before joining the meeting. These passwords can be automatically included in meeting invitations or shared separately for added security. Host controls give meeting organizers powerful tools to manage their meetings, including the ability to mute and unmute participants, remove disruptive attendees, lock meetings once everyone has joined, and control who can share their screen or use chat features. Privacy best practices includes being cautious about sharing meeting links publicly, using waiting rooms for sensitive meetings regularly updating your Zoom application to ensure you have the latest security features, and being mindful of what's visible in your background when your camera is on. Even with good technology, issues can arise in Zoom. For audio, if others can't hear you, check that you're unmuted, the right mic is selected, and try rejoining. If you can't hear others, check your volume, connections, and test your audio settings. For video, make sure your camera isn't blocked or in use by another app or outdated, and restart Zoom if needed. For connection problems like poor quality or drops, check your internet speed, close bandwidth heavy apps, move closer to your router, or use a wired connection. Welcome to our exploration of Zoom's More menu, which contains several additional features which can enhance your meeting experience. When you click on the More button, your Zoom toolbar you will discover a variety of useful tools that we'll walk you through today. First, let's discuss the transcript feature. This powerful tool automatically creates a written record of everything said during your meeting. Think of it as having a personal secretary taking notes for you. The transcript appears in real time, making it easier to follow along if you've missed something or need to review what was discussed later. This is particularly helpful for seniors who may want to reference important items and information after the meeting ends. Next, we have polls and quizzes, which are interactive features that meeting hosts can use to engage participants. If you're attending a meeting where the host creates a poll, you'll see questions appear on your screen that you can answer with simple clicks. These might ask for your opinion on a topic or test your understanding of presented material. Don't worry if you see one pop up. They're designed to be user-friendly and optional to participate in. The Docs feature allows you to access and collaborate on documents directly with your Zoom meeting. This means you can view, edit, and comment on shared documents without leaving the meeting window. It's like having a digital workspace where everyone can contribute to the same document simultaneously, making collaboration seamless and efficient. Whiteboard is Zoom's digital drawing and brainstorming tool. Imagine having a large whiteboard where multiple people can write, draw, or add sticky notes at the same time. This feature is excellent for visual learners and creative sessions where ideas need to be sketched out or organized visually. You can use simple drawing tools, add text, or insert shapes to express your ideas. The live stream option allows meeting hosts to broadcast their Zoom session to perform like Facebook Live or YouTube. As a participant, you typically won't need to worry about this feature, but it's good to know that some meetings might be streamed to a wider audience. Hosts will always inform participants when live streaming is active. Meeting Info provides you with the essential details about your current session. This includes the meeting ID, dial-in numbers for phone participants, and other technical information you might need. It's particularly useful if you need to help someone else join the meeting or if you want to save the meeting details for future reference. The Reset to Default option is a helpful troubleshoot tool that returns your Zoom toolbar to its original layout. If you accidentally moved buttons around or hidden important features, this option will restore everything to the standard configuration that you're familiar with. Finally, Drag to Reorder toolbar is a customization feature that allows you to rearrange the buttons in your Zoom toolbar according to your preferences. You can move frequently used features closer to the center or hide options you rarely use. However, as you're learning Zoom, I recommend keeping the default layout until you become more comfortable with the features. Remember, these additional features are in the More menu and are designed to enhance your Zoom experience, but they're optional. Focus on mastering the basic controls first, Then gradually explore these advanced features as you become more confident with the platform. Congratulations! You've completed this guide to Zoom's menu bar and AI features. Now you know how to manage audio and video, use chat, share screens, record meetings, adjust views, engage with reactions and AI tools. Like any technology, Zoom gets easier with practice, so try features in test meetings or in casual calls. If you run into issues, Zoom's help, resources, tutorials, and support are always available. With patience and practice, you'll soon use Zoom confidently and with ease. Zoom Meeting Guide for Seniors. I'm Huey Poplock.
Okay, now I have a handout. I'm going to do it a little early before I go any further and see if we can get hang on a minute. Now, YouTube, as we saw, can be a little bit of a pain. They have always had free YouTube with ads. They've had YouTube Premium, which also includes music. And they now have YouTube Lite. Runs about $8 a month versus $15 a month. And but it does not include music. Whether it absolutely gets rid of all the ads at $8 or reduces them significantly, I don't know. Another little tidbit is with the pieces of software. In the chat, you can now get the handout with all the stuff that we can get to and more stuff that we cannot get to.
Tim, it's not in the chat.
Let me double check that. It was put in the chat. Come on. I didn't send it.
There you go.
There it goes. Terry Moy interrupted me. I probably forgot to hit the button before letting him in.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's see if we can get back to what we were doing here.
Understanding ChatGPT, Models and Uses. A friendly guide for seniors. I'm Huey Poplock. Today we're going to learn about ChatGPT, what it is, how it works, and how it can be useful in your everyday life. So what is ChatGPT? ChatGPT is like a helpful friend you can chat with online. It can write emails, help with questions, or just chat. It's an AI chatbot developed by OpenAI. It can help you with writing, questions, ideas, and tasks, just like a smart assistant that talks in plain English. You can ask ChatGPT to help with things like writing a letter, explaining something confusing, or planning a trip. You can write emails or letters, summarize articles, answer questions, recipes, tech support, planning, storytelling, and chatting, among many others. How does ChatGPT work? Well, ChatGPT, or GPT itself, stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. It's a fancy term for software trained to understand and generate human language. It's based on a technology called GPT. It learns patterns in language. It's trained on vast amounts of information, but it doesn't think like a human. The overview of ChatGPT models. There are different versions of ChatGPT. The newer ones are smaller and faster. GPT-4o for Omni is the most advanced for most users. But there's also several others that are listed here, and some that aren't. There are some 4.1 models for developers. It's not ChatGPT web users. These newer models are designed for software developers who build apps using AI. They aren't available in the regular ChatGPT website. If you're using ChatGPT through your browser, that's chat.openai.com, you'll be using ChatGPT-4o if you have a pro subscription. You can disregard this slide unless you're curious about what's powering future tools and apps built on ChatGPT. The 4.1 was announced in the last couple of weeks, but it doesn't affect you at all. I wouldn't pay any attention to it. So, what version do I use? So, here's what your screen looks like, and it's difficult to figure out what you're going to use and why. So, what model should you use? Well, if you're using the free version as of May 2025, you can use GPT-4o. So, for everyday use, use that, GPT-4o or Omni. It's the fastest 04-mini or 04 mini high is faster, but free users can now use ChatGPT-4o, and that's what you probably should be using. Here is the difference between free and paying the $20 a month for the plus. Most of what you would do, you can do with the free. However, there are some advantages to having the plus. If you need those, then it's worth the $20. There are some limitations if you use the free model. How to use ChatGPT? Well, just go to the website, sign in, and type your message like you would in an email or a text. It's that simple. You visit chat.openai.com, you log in or create an account, you type your question, and you read the AI response. Simple as that. Some tips for seniors. Don't be afraid to try it out. There's no wrong way to ask a question. The more you use it, the easier it gets. Talk to it like it's a friend. Write a birthday message. No need for perfect grammar. Use it to learn or solve problems. So spelling and grammar, if you're off a little bit, it doesn't care. It figures it out. Fun activities with ChatGPT. It's not just useful, it can be fun too. Try asking it to tell you a joke or write a silly poem or write a song. Travel ideas or fun facts. Make lists or schedules. Stay safe with ChatGPT. Never give out sensitive information like your social security number or passwords. Always verify any important facts that you get back in an answer. So, in other words, again, don't share personal information. Double check important answers. And use it for fun and for learning. This is a chart of all the current versions of ChatGPT. Some items to note. The release date for each one. The first version of ChatGPT was released in November of 2022. That's when all the AI became a very popular and mainstream item just back in November of 2022. You'll notice on here too the image generation. Not all models of ChatGPT have image generation, and some aren't available for web browsing. You have to have the software installed on your computer and run it from your computer. And look to see what it's best for, the different versions. And then the availability. Is it free and plus, or is it API only? API only means that you're going to be paying for the amount of usage, and you've got to set up an API number and more things that you want to get involved in. Feel free to reach out if you want to help using ChatGPT. Don't forget, Let's Talk AI that I moderate for STUG, the Sarasota Technology User Group. We meet on Zoom on the fourth Friday of the month. You can contact me at huey@huey.net. Have fun exploring.
Greetings. Today, I'm going to be talking about how ChatGPT can make your life easier. Not perfect, but easier. And so I have a slide presentation, and it's available without narration, so you can look it up later if you'd like to copy the slides. But I'd like to go over it and show you all of the great ways that ChatGPT can make your life easier and a lot more fun. So I'm going to share my screen, and here we are. So one thing it can do is you can ask chat things and get clear answers. I can't tell you how many times I've gone in and I've said, chat, it says this. I've done a snapshot, pasted it in, and I go, I don't understand what they're talking about. And chat will explain it to me. And it's with no tech. And this is terrific if you're looking up medical terms. What does this mean? What does this disease mean? What is this vitamin for? Or you have confusing documents. You don't understand them. You can copy and paste or just into a chat and just say, please explain this. And you can keep asking follow-up questions until you understand it. But you understand. There's no pressure. There's no rolling of eyes. There's no saying, oh my God, she doesn't understand. That's how you can do it. So, great. 2, you can write and edit like a pro. You can do emails, you can do letters, you can do bios, you can do resumes. You can hit the record button, the little microphone on chat, and dictate into it whatever you want and say, please write a letter for me. Or if you need a resume, you can tell it all about yourself and say, please do a resume, and chat will do it. And then you can modify it. You can copy and paste it and put it into Word, or you can put it into OneNote or Evernote or something, play with it. Upload it again, copy and paste it until you get it just right for you. It can write social posts. Please post this to Facebook. Please let them know I'm doing this. Please help me. It can help you with captions. If you want, and you're going to have fun, it will write stories for you. So for example, if you are doing memories, you're going to be telling about your life, you can dictate into chat, and chat will write a story for you about it. I have a friend who has a child, and she has a special needs child, and she's written a book using chat and, playing with it back and forth to get it just right, but it put it into very readable form. And it will also fix grammar, tone, reformatting, also sorts of things like that. It will write letters for you. Say you have a letter that you want to send getting money back from somebody. A company that you need to return something to, or you need to straighten out. Chat can help you write that letter. And also, I will tell you the truth, sometimes I get annoyed at somebody and I write a little bit of a hot letter, and I've copied it and pasted it into chat and say, please give me some guidance. And chat will come back and say, Joanna, this is a little bit harsh. Maybe you could tone down a bit. Maybe you could reword it. Maybe you can understand where this person is coming from. And it has saved me a lot of grief. So it's really terrific for that. Plan smarter. You can build itineraries. Say you want to take a vacation and you don't want to use any of the expressways. You'd like to go to small towns. You don't want to travel any more than 6 hours a day. You want to get from this place to that place. Tell chat what you need and chat will plan it for you. Or maybe you're planning a birthday, a surprise party, maybe a baby shower. Tell chat what you want. It will give you ideas. It will create checklists for your home projects on when things can be done. That's kind of cool. And it will organize, I have all these things to do. Can you make sense out of these and tell me what I should do and when I should do it? That's good if you can, and chat may come back and say, well, tell me how much time everything is going to take and tell me what's a priority. But it can help you do that and prepare a to-do list. Now, before I go any further, I want to tell you that I am going to do a video on each one of these topics and show you how you can ask questions and dig deeper and really get what you need out of chat. So this is just an overview of the questions that you can ask. Learn new things and research the old. Oh, this is really, really terrific. For any of you that are history buffs, you will love this thing. I went in just to explore it and said, please tell me how the Revolutionary War started. Who fired the first shot? And it gave me everything. Please tell me more. Please tell me this. Also, I asked it to state the sources. And it even gave me a map of where everything started. It's cool. It's really, really cool. We'll be covering that in a separate video later. You can check out current events, including bills before Congress. So they saw, oh, we have this bill before Congress or your state legislature. During the legislative session, if there was a bill that I was interested in, I'd say, chat, please give me a summary of this bill and where it stands. And there it would be. So that's really cool. And you can keep asking questions until you understand what's happening. Keep digging deeper and deeper. Okay, solve problems. Chat is great for brainstorming. I have this problem, I don't know how to solve it. Or my computer's broken, I don't know what to do. Or I need a new computer and I don't know which one to buy. Or I need this. It can research for you, help you brainstorm things, weigh the pros and cons, and give you a chart with the pros and cons so that you can make a decision. That's just terrific. It's like getting a second opinion or a fresh perspective from somebody that doesn't have, isn't so close to you that they want to flatter you or they want to persuade you one way or another. It's unbiased. That's one of the nice things about it. I can tell you that when I create these videos, I do a lot of brainstorming with chat. What would be interesting? What wouldn't be interesting? It even helps me design my slides. It's terrific. We'll help you use tech more easily. Oh, we all get into problems and we go, I don't understand this. Why is my computer doing this? Why can't I get this? How come I can't do that? So you say, I need to do this. Give me step-by-step instructions. And if you don't understand them, say, I don't understand it. You can ask questions about the buttons, the apps, the devices that you have until you understand. That will make your life easier. Now, does it always give you answers that are perfect? No, but neither do people. So, that's the way it is. But it's a way to get answers quickly. And then you can test them out. And I can tell you there are times when I've said, this isn't working, chat. I don't understand. Please go back and explain it again. So it will do it. It's patient. There's no judgment. There's no rolling eye. There's no sighs. How come you can't get it? No. It goes at your pace, your style, and then you get interrupted. So here you have half a conversation. Well, you can come back to chat, and there it is. So that's neat. Now, it will tell you how to protect yourself from unwanted scams and unwanted messages. It will give you step-by-step help to avoid unwanted messages, ads, and scams. Say to it, I keep getting these pop-ups, chat. How can I avoid them? And chat will say, what kind of computer do you have? Is it on your phone or on your computer? do this, do that, and it'll give you instructions on how you can block a lot of those things. It can say, chat, I just got this message. I'm going to copy and paste it into you. And you say, you don't know how do I copy and paste? How do I take a screenshot? It will tell you. You put it in and it will go, no, this isn't good, or this is okay. It will help you to learn how to spot fraudulent texts and emails and websites. It will also give you advice on what to share and what not to share online, even with chat. Now, this is cool. It will help you communicate better with others. Now, there are a lot of different personality types, a lot of different styles of communication. And sometimes it's not what you say, but it's how you say it that can cause conflict or that can smooth things over. So, a lot of people don't know this about chat, but chat understands personalities. There's something called DISC, D-I-S-C, which many people have used to identify different personalities types. And you can put it in and ask about it. So let's say you're having a difficult time with your daughter-in-law or your mother-in-law, and you go, oh, if you tell chat about what she does, the kind of personality she is, chat can identify it, and then you can say, chat, please give me some guidance on how I can deal with her so that we can have a good relationship. And believe it or not, chat will come up with some ideas. They may not like all of them, but you could write to Dear Abby and also get an answer back that you wouldn't like. But you could get a really good answer and you could ask it more questions. But what about this? Or what about this? Or should I get upset about this? And chat can sometimes calm you down, walk you back from the edge and say, well, let's look at it from her perspective. Or, maybe you could approach it this way. It's terrific. I do use it that way. Anyway, it will also help you to prepare for hard conversations. For example, somebody has just passed away. I just lost a friend a couple of weeks ago, a really good friend. And I wanted to go and talk to her husband, and I didn't know what to say. And I said, chat, one of my best friends has died, and I need to call Dave and say, I'm sorry. What can I say and what shouldn't I say? And chat gave me some really, really good ideas. And it gave me ideas on how I can offer to help and when I should just keep quiet. Really, really good advice. Number 9, it can help you organize, summarize, and analyze. Chat GPT can help organize your thoughts. It can summarize information from articles. Sometimes you can say, okay, chat, I'd like to know about this book. Can you give me an outline of it, or can you summarize it for me? And chat will. It's like it's for those of us in my age group, it's like going to Cliff's Notes. Please give me an outline of this book. Please give me, some information on this project. It's terrific doing that. It can summarize articles from websites. You can even take, and I'm a real estate agent, I have even uploaded documents into chat and said, please give me the high points and the low points of this. Please understand, or please tell me all of the blanks that I need to fill in, etc. Please make it so that I can present it easily. Really, really good for that. And it can analyze the pros and cons of things after it's analyzed it side by side. Really neat. So now you can make decisions with knowledge, understanding, and competence. Somebody said clarity. That was a word we didn't use, but it does. It clears things up for you. It makes it so that you can go, okay, now I get it. All right, now I can make a decision. Number 10, have fun and be creative. Give chat an idea. It can turn it into a song, a poem. You can tell a story about somebody and ask them to give you a song about them, or a riddle, or a poem. It can even do pictures if you have the upgraded $20 a month, version. It's terrific. So as I mentioned, a friend of mine wrote a story, a children's story. Wonderful. It helped her put things into order so she could see it clearly. And it comes up with other words that you might not think of it. And it can match your tone. So you could say, oh, please write this in Old English. Please write it like Shakespeare would. Please make it into rap music, right? Or can you write a country western song like this? Now, is it going to be perfect every time? No, but how are you doing on your own? It could be really fun to do that. Somebody has a birthday coming up, you could have a poem written for them or a song. Great. And what if you're just plain bored? Well, if you're bored, chat can offer you ideas for a good time for any age, from games to activities. You can say to it, chat, my 5-year-old grandson is coming over. What would be some good things for us to do together that we could have fun doing? Or you could say something like, gee, I have friends coming into town. Tell me what's going on in my neighborhood, in my city this weekend that we might like to go to. And can you also give me times and prices and any details on it? And chat will. And you can say, any more? Any more? So those are the 10 things that will help make your life easier and more fun. And it is empowering. And I've had such a good time with it. So I'll be doing upcoming videos on each
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. Do
in
the hour.
each of these 10 categories with tips.
Stop that. All right. For those of you who haven't downloaded, go to the chat and download the handout so you have that. There are more videos that we don't have time to get to. And so at the moment, does anybody have any comments, questions, etc. Before we end the meeting?
Oh, all
All right. Anybody else got any comments to add to the meeting or questions about what was presented? The computer I normally would have done the presentation on finally got done at 8:20, about 45 to 55 minutes after I started a restart for an update. So I'm not happy about that. That's the first time I've had that, so I've had to use a laptop for presentation. If there is nothing else, I'll stop the recordings.